Some of the positive things about federalism, and we'll go into why we have a federalist type of system, is it spreads out the government power and authority, and it allows control at the local level, because each area has its own geographic specifics as to how government needs to be run. Not every place can be run the same way. So it's important that each, from the state down to the local government, that differences have to be handled in a more efficient manner. The negatives are potential conflicts between national and state governments. Sometimes you have local laws that make it more difficult and vary so much, and citizens could be treated differently depending upon where you live. For example, some of you may live in a place what they call a dry county. No alcohol is sold in that county. Well, those are the powers that the state does have, because it does not. This Constitution does not give the federal government the power to control whether liquor is sold or not. A particular county or city can decide that. However, one citizen of one city or county may be able to buy liquor, and a citizen of another county may not be able to buy liquor in that county. It has different effects, and you might go from one city or one county to another with different types of law and ordinances, and you can be treated differently depending upon where you live. Most of us know what the basic governmental format is with regard to the three branches. We know about the legislative branch, which is on the federal level, Congress. Congress is comprised of the House of Representatives and the Senate. And normally this is where I would ask you questions about. Anybody know how many representatives there are in the State House of Representatives, and how many in the Senate, and how many we have total? Since I'm not have that feedback here, I'll let you know that in the House of Representatives you have 435 members. In the Senate you have 100. The House of Representatives is representation is based, and talking about in the federal level, is based upon population. So if you're in a heavily populated state, you're going to have more representatives in the House of Representatives than a less populated state. California may have the highest amount of representatives, and a state like Rhode Island may have the least amount of representatives. But in the Senate, you have equal representation. Then you have 2 senators from each state, which comprise the 100. So you have equal representation in one, no matter what size the state is, and then in the House of Representatives, you're basing upon population. So in one way, the more populous states have more of a say. If a bill goes through the House, they have more of a say, as opposed to a Senate. It keeps the balance of power in the states on an equal footing. You also have the executive branch, which is the president and any regulatory bodies under the president, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court of the United States or all other federal courts. And this basic format actually exists on both the federal and state level. You'll have the legislative branch, you'll have the governor, which is the executive branch, and you have the court system and the judicial branch. There's checks and balances that keep one branch from being too powerful and becoming overly burdensome on the other. Some people think the executive branch has too much power. Some people believe the judicial branch has too much power. There is differing views on it, but there's checks and balances on all of them. You can find a chart of the federal state court systems by going to the website, that Westlaw website, and I encourage you to look at that. You'll see what the basic court systems are in the federal court and state courts. But let's talk a little bit about the basic structure at the federal level and understand what the three levels you're looking at in the federal court system. The highest level in the federal court system is the United States Supreme Court. They're the final arbiter of what the law is. The 9 justices on the Supreme Court make the final determination of what the law is, or what is constitutional, what is not constitutional. The next level below the Supreme Court are what we call the Circuit Court of Appeals. There's a number of different districts throughout the United States of the Circuit Court of Appeals. There's not one in every state. There's one in different regions. For example, if you're in Florida, the Circuit Court of Appeals is in Atlanta, Georgia. So the different circuits, the appeals courts, are in different areas in different regions. And finally, the trial court level in the federal court level are the United States District Courts. That's where you have the trials. That's where the trial court level, where the actual trials take place. These are usually numerous within a state. You have a number of in Florida. You have a district court for the Southern District of Florida. You have one for the Middle District of Florida and one for the Northern District of Florida. So they're not in every city, but they're in different districts in the state. I believe there are 96 district courts in the United States. So you're averaging almost 2 in every state. So there may be states that only have 1 because of the size of the state. In other states, they may have more than 1. The number and type of courts on both the state and federal level are determined by the legislative branch. They're the ones who actually create it and determine which courts there are. If there's another court that needs to be created, for example, another district, the legislature, the Congress has to determine and approve of that.